All right, guys. Hey, sorry about that. I had to switch to my phone from my laptop. So hopefully you guys are well. Sorry for that delay a little bit. So I need to make sure that I get back on track here. All right. So let's see. Where did I leave off at? Okay. So you guys have this already right here. This is what I already talked about. So I said your voice. Okay. I said friends, family, neighbors, right? Teachers, past mistakes, feelings, right? Experience, your husband, your wife, your boss. You know, we get all these voices that come at us, right? And then we have those voices that come from the inside, right? But what number one voice would you say, you can put this in a chat box, would you say is the number one voice that we need to listen to? What would you say in there? Would you say your friends? Would you say your somebody, even if it's somebody not up here? You know, is it the commentators and you watch the football game? You know, the basketball game? Is it somebody you don't even know on the other side of the world? Is it me? Is it what is the number one voice that you need to listen to? Just put it in the chat box. Okay. Here's what I would say. I used to listen to all these different voices right here. It's very confusing. You get very bewildered. That's where a lot of anxiety comes from, fears, all this stuff, right? But why don't you look at it like this? Not so much of what voice, but whose voice. Did you hear what I just said? Whose voice? Because that voice is always programming and transferring information to you, right? Constantly, right? And I would say, I'm not going to give you my opinion, according to the Kingdom Constitution, here's what I found out the voice that's right 100% of the time, right? And it took me a while to tune in my frequency to that voice, right? Wouldn't a product, every product has a manufacturer, okay? You guys already know that, right? You're looking at me through a product, through a phone, right? Through a tool, okay? And so Samsung, iPhone, whatever your phone is, they have a manufacturer. So would you agree that the manufacturer has the product's best interest in mind? Of course. And everything that's in that product, the manufacturer, I'm talking about the top manufacturers in the world, want to develop a product that will make the consumers or prosumers experience amazing, right? Why? Because when they do that, when they put in the time, when they put in the hours, when they put in the money, when they put in the research, when they do all the things to before it hits the marketplace to give to other people to try and to critique. And once you get it just right with the help of the consumer or prosumer out there, and then voila, they release it, right? Because they want you to come back and keep buying that same product, right? Over and over again. They want you to tell other people about that product, and they want that product to bring you amazing results, joy, happiness, whatever, okay? Great fulfillment, okay? So I would present to you that you are a product. As a matter of fact, as I said this before, and you can look up this definition, mankind is a product. So I would ask you, who's your manufacturer? Now, most of you in here probably know that. Some of you probably believe it. Some of you probably don't. If you're new in here, maybe you don't know. But I will present to you that there is a person who manufactured you. Some people say, okay, my mom and dad did. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Who created them? Or they my grandparents. Okay, who created them? Okay, keep going all the way back. Eventually, you're going to get to what? The first person, right? The first, not person, the first man, okay? The first man, which we all came out of, right? I like to liken it, as I said before, of a tree, right? Well, every tree had a seed, and a seed is a converting mechanism. There's an image on the inside of it. It's a programmed seed to produce after its own kind, which is part of the law. Okay. Now, I will tell you this. Um, I will tell you this, guys. In closing, I really didn't get a chance to, because my laptop it kind of cut me short and everything like that. But here's I'm gonna leave you with this, okay? Um, Hopefully, I've said some things that will actually bring some value to you, because instead of chasing money and prestige and titles and everything like that, here's one thing I learned from very successful people. Some I've been mentored by, some I've seen on stage at leadership conferences, multimillionaires, who made at the time, 10, 15, 20, $30 million in a day, some in a month, some in a year. And they said, you know, in so many words, hey, don't chase money, don't chase a title, chase value, grow yourself, because you're the best product, right, that you can pour into. Okay. So let me leave you with this. You have to take these people right here with a grain of salt. Okay. You can learn from, this is what I learned. You can learn from these people. Okay. But these people, these experiences, teachers, all that stuff like that, even your spouse, they didn't create you. Okay? I would present to you, as I said before, who created you is your creator, the manufacturer, right? Now, according to the Bible, his name is Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus is just the flesh man, but Christ actually is the deity. Christ means anointed king. Some people call him Yahshua, some people call him Yahweh, and so on and so forth. But check this out. So I was thinking about this earlier. And some of you, no matter what religion that you're part of or whatever background, atheist, agnostic, see, you know this name Moses. Moses is probably mentioned at least 10,000 times a day worldwide, right? Let alone Jesus is probably over 1,000,000 times a day worldwide, right? Now, I remember Moses, who helped deliver the Israelites out of Egypt. Obviously, he had help. And Moses, you have to remember, he stuttered, he was scared, he had accidentally killed someone. He came out of Egypt even though he was Hebrew, right? And so he had to go through this long stretch of growth, and the king, the Lord, owner, ruler, had to get he had to get Egypt out of him. Okay, so with that being said, you have to realize that he was afraid to go approach Egypt, right? Pharaoh, okay? They were a massive organization, right? They a massive corporation. So he was saying to the Lord, he was like, look, who do I say that sent me? And he says, I am. Now, I want you to think about that for a few seconds. What does that even mean? You should put that in the chat box. Put that in the chat box. I am. When the creator says, I am, when I first heard that, I was like, I am what? You have to understand, I am what? What are you? And what I learned is that when he says I am, he's talking about I am whatever the situation calls for, right? If you're sick, I am healing. If you're hated, I am love. If you're poor, I am salvation. I am wealthy. You see what I'm trying to say? It doesn't, so don't get caught up in all the names, okay? But I want you to understand these principles that you are created in the image of the Almighty. Now, okay, you may not agree with me, and that's okay. I've had people tell me that before. I'm not gonna fight them or anything like that, or just strike them down or anything like that. No, I want to connect with them, right? I want to kind of see where they are, because most people have been hurt, what I'm saying, by religion, right? Remember I said those are the top two problems in mankind: religion and government, government and religion, or should I say the wrong kind of government model and the wrong kind and religions, right? But yet those solutions were already given by the Creator in the Bible. The problem is that if you've grown up in the Western world and you're trying to read an Eastern book, which is the Bible, you're already at a disadvantage, right? Because most of the Western world grew up in a democratic republic, right? Or a constitutional republic. It's still the opposite of a kingdom, right? And so, with that being said, that's why this world, and that's why we think the way we think, and that's why our thinking is all messed up, because we don't realize those 5 questions, as I said before. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't understand what a kingdom concept truly is, guess what? When you read that Bible, or when you, whatever religion that you're part of, because I'm not part of any religion, this is what I found out, that Jesus Christ didn't bring a religion. Matter of fact, if you back all the way up, as I said before, to Genesis 1:26, he literally tells you right there. You can even go to Isaiah 9:6 and 7, where it says, unto us a child is born. A child is born. So that's somebody coming from the unseen into the seen realm, coming through the birth canal, the womb. That's what a woman is, a man with a womb. That's the doorway to this planet. Unto us a Savior is given. Now, salvation isn't just blood. It's part of it, but it means so much more. It's a big spectrum, right? And then he says, on his shoulders, he's bringing a what? A religion called Christianity. Did he say any of the other 3 top religions? Did he say whatever religion you fill in the blank? Did he say that? No, he didn't say that. He said, I'm bringing a government on his shoulders, right? And it's a metaphor, right? You have to understand shoulders means that, back then, you carry things like in Africa and certain parts of the world, they actually still do that. They carry things on top of their head and they'll carry things on their shoulders, right? And everything like that. So in other words, it's a responsibility. He's bringing back what mankind lost. And see, here's one thing I can tell you, and I'm wrap this thing on up. Okay. All religions and all types of people trying to find out different governments are leading to trying to find out the kingdom message, the kingdom of heaven that Jesus brought back, because that's what we lost. See, you can't find something you didn't know you lost, right? I think that's the worst thing a person can ever, and I believe that's what most people are ailing about, they're frustrated about, they're angry about, they're hating about, they're strifing about, they're jealousying about, all the things you can think of, and settling for, right? It's because they're trying in the back of their mind, and some people have, they've given up, but I know it's true that they're looking for this kingdom message. And I know it's resonating with a lot of you guys out there, like it resonated with me. But even though I had all this stuff on top of me in here, I knew deep down inside in my spirit, I need to check into this. Now, it didn't happen up front, okay? I had to, me being hard-headed, most human beings are hard-headed. They got hard heads, right? I had to go through some things, right? And that's what I find out here in America and so-called first world countries. A lot of times we're so hard-headed, we think we know everything, right? And we got to go through some things, okay? You don't have to, but that's how the environment is created, right? To think that we're succeeding because we have some digits that somebody hit F1 with and added zeros and ones, right? 50 million, okay? I put this in there. And all something has to do is, electricity has to go out. You can't get anything out of that. You can have 50 million in there, 100 billion, it doesn't matter, right? That's not real money. Some people say, I got a whole bunch of cash. Or that cash if you understand and you find out what the Supreme Court says about that, that's not real money. It's fiat money. That's why you think they call it fiat. They even have a car called fiat. It's fake. It's fictitious, right? It's based on the idea of usury, okay, stealing from people on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole other topic in itself. So that's not real money, right? So we walk through this life lying to ourselves and walking in this illusion and thinking that we got what we think we need and have, and we settle for that. Okay, so I'm done. You guys have a great one. Again, I apologize that the laptop actually timed me out and everything. I kind of had to restart. Phone's blowing up. I got to get going. But I promise you, I'm going to get into what I was really supposed to get into next week. You guys tune in. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You can go back to my previous contents and start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And I'm sure a lot of this stuff will resonate to you. Okay? You guys have a great night. Have a great week. And don't forget that homework I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago. Those 5 questions. Okay? Put that down one at a time. Even if it takes you 5, even if it takes you 6 months to at least, figure out 2 or 3 of them, right? Please do that, right? At least you're working towards something. Okay? So have a good night. Talk to you guys next week. Peace out.